I know.
It's
not-
not,
God.
I'll be prepared, I'm prepared to do that. That's why I told her.
At least it's ended that way.
Michael, good to see you. I'm doing good.
Quite an improvement from the other gentleman.
My partner. Okay.
You got a break and have to deal with the one subject.
Good. Yeah, but I was prepared to do that because he and I talked about it ahead of time.
I was too.
Okay.
Weren't you just in Vegas? I thought you were still in Vegas.
I'm gonna turn my phone off. So.
You know what? You know, because the filter is broke after year 4, so you wait till you're 5 and 6. You're 5 and 6. It's just going down. I better
don't know.
scoot closer to that door. You know what I'm saying?
It wasn't even about me, it was about people were saying that
Oh, wow.
taking over the parking
My
lot,
friend tell you, Anita has to talk.
spaces. We were getting letters to that effect.
No,
And
I
it's
didn't
like,
see
that's
those.
not
I
what
wanna
was,
see where they're
that's
gonna
not
be
at all
meeting.
what's happening. Get your back before the third.
The city of Dunedin does it all the time. I can't tell you the number of restaurants and bars and
I'm just taking a
we've
break.
got
I'm coming
downtown
back.
in
I'm gonna make
Dunedin
a
that, you know, that we have sidewalk license agreements.
Went well?
I'm sold now.
We look forward to it in Dunedin.
Yeah, I mean, because the sidewalk on Safford,
I know, I see.
you know, I guess doesn't meet the standards, and then the sidewalk on the parking lot meets an
It's good, but yeah.
rule for the street versus
Rotary years.
a sidewalk, so
Yeah.
he's kind of stuck. But
Me too.
maybe we'll look at it again.
I'll get it. I mean, I'll get it. I'm my late 40s.
Yeah, I've been Rotary 30 years.
No,
So that was
I've only
60.
been Rotary 7 years.
Yeah.
So 35. So.
How many of them were good?
I played 10.
How are you? Good, very well, thanks. I've been on the boat a lot. I got a new boat. So, what did I get? Oh, makeup? Are you guys still going out? Yeah, think about it. I should get the number. Just sit there. We just sit on the island.
I've been here because of the Bedford. I missed the last meeting.
That's the bird. That's Don. Michael.
Always get in trouble. This ain't the Bronx, Michael. Sit down, okay?
Because,
I now call to order the regular session meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs on Tuesday, July 11, 2017, at 6:30 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mayor Alahouzes,
Here.
Vice Mayor Banther, Commissioner Sieber,
here,
Commissioner Kikta,
Here.
Commissioner Carr.
Tonight's invocation will be given by our City Attorney, Mr. Tom Trask. If you please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, as we exercise the right of self-government that we enjoy as free citizens of the United States, we pause to thank you for the freedoms given to us by the generations of patriots who have preceded us and who risked their lives so that we may live as free men and women. We pray for the members of the armed services, for the sacrifices that they are making, and that you will continue to comfort the families of those injured or killed while in service. We are hopeful for your grace and love will be with those who have suffered and with those present here tonight who share in their pain and loss. This we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our commission meeting. Tonight, Mr. Trask will serve as the city attorney. Major Trill will serve as an active police chief. Welcome, and thank you for being here tonight. We now go into the public comments of the items that will not be discussed tonight. If you have any comments, please come forward, state your name and your address for the record. You'll be given 4 minutes. Hear none. I have some announcements to make. The agenda item 13A and 13B, applications 17 47 zoning and land use amendment for Hunt has been deferred to July 25th, 2017 regular session. We also have item number 14, the application 1752, license to encroach for 21 North Safford Avenue for Tarpon Tavern. That has been postponed. And we are now going to the proclamation, which is the item number 1A, for Parks and Recreation Month. The City of Tarpon Springs, Florida proclamation. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout the country, including the City of Tarpon Springs, and whereas all parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and whereas parks and recreation programs increase the community's economic prosperity through increased property values, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas all parks and recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place of children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And now, therefore, I, Chris Salahuzes, by virtue of the authority vesting in me as the mayor of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, do recognize July 2017 as Park and Recreation Month. Mr. Tom Fudgen, if you please come to receive the proclamation. Thank you. You want to say a few words? Okay, all right, thanks. Item number 1B, Commissioner Carr will read the proclamation on the Americans with Disabilities Act Awareness Day. Oh, wait a minute. Before we go to that, are there any commission comments on that item? Any public comments on that item? Here now, we are now going to item number 1B, and Commissioner Carr will read the proclamation.
City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, proclamation, whereas the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, was passed on July 26, 1990 to ensure the civil rights of citizens with disabilities. And whereas the City of Tarpon Springs affirms the principles of equality and inclusion for persons with disabilities as set forth for the state of Florida and as embodied in the ADA, the laws of the state of Florida, and whereas numerous organizations in Pinellas County and in Florida work with the constituents and communities to bring forth the promise of hope and freedom that is envisioned by the passage of the ADA. And whereas July 26, 2017 celebrates the 27th anniversary of Americans with Disabilities Act. Now, therefore, I, City Commissioner Jacob Carr, by the virtue of authority vested in the mayor of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, do hereby observe July 26, 2017 as Americans with Disabilities Act Awareness Day, and this will be mailed.
Thank you. Are there any commission comments? Here none. Any public comment? Here none. We are now going to item number 2 is a presentation for project update. Bob Robinson will do this presentation.
Good evening, I'm Bob Robertson, Project Administration Department Director, and I'm here tonight to give you an update on a select number of projects. In your backup, I provided you a list of the 40-some projects that our department is managing. I don't intend to go through 40 projects tonight. So, Mike, you can take a deep breath. I'm going to hit on 5 projects, and as I go through the projects, Mr. Mayor, if it's all right with you, I'd like to pause between each one to allow for questions and discussion on the projects. I'd rather not get 6 projects down or 5 projects down and then have to backtrack and forget your question. So if that's what you prefer, then that's the way we'll work it. Okay, so let's try the doohickey here. There we go. So before I jump into the projects, just a very quick overview on what the Project Administration Department is all about. This is a brand new department created in March 2017 by the board. Our purpose is to manage and oversee city projects as needed, citywide projects. We function as an internal service department. projects are managed as an internal service to city departments, so if a department needs some help with getting a project done, they can come to us. So not all the projects in the city are managed by us, but as you saw from that list, we do have a lot of them. Our services include design and permitting oversight and decision-making as designated, project coordination, sometimes a single point of contact between multi-departments, between projects that affect multiple departments is an effective way to get projects done. We do construction oversight not only for city projects, but for developer projects, providing kind of augmented services for the building development department, building department for site development type, not building inspections, but site inspections. We do some limited amount of internal design, and a big part of what we do is manage our engineer of record contracts. So we'll jump into some projects, and the first one I wanted to talk about was item number 1 in your backup. This is the Anklet River Dredge Project. This is of course, the maintenance dredge of the Anklet River Federal Channel. And current status, the United States Army Corps of Engineers is working to finalize the contributed funds agreement between the city and the Corps for the funding of preliminary design and engineering. This is basically just the contract that lets us pay the Corps to get the engineering work done. This requires congressional approval, and in my last contact with the Corps, they've sent this agreement up to I think there's a handful of subcommittees in the U.S. Congress that have to approve it. So that's in the works. But in the meantime, the Army Corps has started early work on preliminary design and engineering. They're already starting this using a small amount of their own limited funds. So this is good news. We're not losing time waiting for this document to get signed. They're moving ahead with some of the geotech work related to the dredge. And of course, the city and / county contribution, this is the $300,000, will still be required, but it could be offset by what the Army Corps is able to spend now. So we could get a reduction on that. That still remains to be seen. As you know, of course, the city's state funding request for funding for the spoil site was vetoed out of the state budget this year by Governor Scott. But that budget also created a Florida Job Growth Grant funding program, which seems like a strong possibility to still get state funding for the spoil site. That's administered through the DEO, the Department of Economic Opportunity. Through the mayor and I, we've spoken with the director of that department. We seem like, and they don't have the application process ironed out yet, but when it's ready, we'll be probably the first ones to apply. Next steps on the dredge project, after of course getting the preliminary design and engineering started here, would be to begin preparing information packages to go for the big money, the U.S. congressional representative funding for the dredge itself. And we're targeting the fiscal year 2019 budget, the federal budget, and it's not too early, I don't think, to start pulling that together. So that's a brief update on the Anklet River Dredge, and I'll stop here if there's some questions about that project.
Thank you. Well, we have a lot to comment on that one. Mr. Robinson, first I would like to congratulate and thank you for providing this update and the spreadsheet on my request. And also I'd like to thank you and congratulate you for your outstanding work to administrating all the projects that we have, 50-some projects. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
I'd like to ask Mr. Licouris that this information to be placed on the website so all the citizens will be able to view it.
Yes, it's on the website
Radio
now, and as he does updates, a lot of these projects could be updated weekly. As they update, they will be there on a project. You can get to it on the first page when you go to our city website, and it'll be there for you.
Mr. Robinson, I love the spreadsheet.
Thank you.
I will request that you add another column to it with estimated completion date.
Okay.
If it's possible. And of course, that can change every time you
Sure.
review it. Thanks. Now, on the Anklet River dredging, on July 5th, we had the honor to have Mrs. Anderson from Senator Nelson here in Tarpon Springs. Also, we had Mrs. Johnson and Mr. Leahy from Senator Rubio's office here in Tarpon Springs City Hall. We were able to discuss funding for this project. Also, what's the best way to to communicate with the federal elected officials. We also discussed other items concerning the city of Tarpon Springs. At this time, it was their recommendation to preparing letters to be sent to the Senator Nelson, to Senator Rubio, and all the congressmen of the area, asking them to approve the funding agreement, as you mentioned earlier, between the Army Corps of Engineers and the city of Tarpon Springs. So that's in the works. So, and that way the city will reimburse the Army Corps of Engineers the $300,000 that was contributed by Pinellas County. As you mentioned, we received information from the governor's office that the Florida Job Growth Grant Fund is now available for us to apply for funding, and Mr. Licouris already has signed you to do that, and thank you, Mr. Licouris, for doing that. Also, I'd like to take this time to congratulate and to thank all the my colleagues, the BOC members here, all the commissioners for working together. And we must continue to do that. We must be one team, one voice. And I think we're doing an excellent job working together as a team to accomplish that. So I want to thank you all for doing that. That's all I have for the first item. Vice Mayor Panther.
Thank you, yes. And as we know, I could talk all night about the dredge, but I won't. I got the good fortune to meet with Jess Nelson's rep prior to the mayor meeting with both Nelson and Rubio's rep, which was nice that Rubio's rep was able to come in. So we had both there. And you obviously were kind enough to break apart from staff, and thank you for that. You gave her an excellent rundown of the project, and I think she got a good bird's eye view, and I think we have to keep doing that. The only thing I would add, and Mayor, you might have already done this or plan to, but I think when you get back from Greece, you should meet with Gus Bilrakis, just being your relationship with him, but have an official meeting with him on this.
We've done that.
Well, I'd keep on doing it, just because of your relationship with him. I'm going to talk to Liz Hito, his chief of staff. I'm pretty close with her, but I just want to, make sure that we're attacking it from all points and keep meeting with them, because that's where, as I said before, in June when we had the debacle with the state, I think our focus needs to be on the federal level, because for us to get in fiscal 19 is even going to be a challenge. So I think, we can have even all the spoil sites in the world, all the permitting in the world. We don't get in their budget, it's for naught. So we need to make sure that we're all working with all federal level officials that we can. So that's all I have to add on that. But thank you, Bob, for your work on this project, and you really sing it through from the very beginning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Vice Mayor Panther, I'd like to congratulate our city manager, Mr. Licouris, who was with us when the representatives of Senator Nelson and Senator Rubio were here. And not only you had a meeting, but we took them out to lunch, so we had the opportunity to discuss more things about it.
Very good. I didn't eat the octopus.
Be careful.
To try, though. Commissioner Kichter.
I don't have much to add. I just want to thank Mr. Robertson for heading up this department, this new department. You are the perfect man for the job.
Thank you.
And when it comes to the dredge, I think we've pretty much said, we've hashed this over quite a few times. Out of sight, out of mind, so we just need to keep on top of it. If we have to send anybody up to Tallahassee or to Washington, wherever, we just need to keep on pushing along and for these funds. This is so important. Do you think that Mike Bilrakis can help at all?
Oh, certainly. I mean, in my experience with Mike, he obviously respects his son and defers to him, but I mean, I see the Rotary, and I don't mind talking about it.
Okay, because I have a very good relationship with Mr. Bilrakis as well. So
by all means, yeah. I mean, certainly.
I know I'm sure he's got plenty of contacts up there, and he might be able to.
There's no bad person to talk to it about. I can't think in my mind someone we shouldn't talk to the dredge about. So absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Bob.
My pleasure.
The only thing I would like to ask is everything that we do, because we cannot communicate due to the Sunshine Law, if you please relay that to Mr. Robinson,
Okay,
so we
great.
have a point of contact.
Yep.
Commissioner Sib.
Oh, yes, I agree with my colleagues, and of course, the more we can talk to our representatives, the better. But I want to thank you, Bob, for all your work and being proactive, thinking of 2019 already, because that is important that we have that all in motion as soon as possible. So thank you for being proactive and for all your work.
Thank you.
Mr. Carr.
Can you just give me a quick update on this aspect? Thanks for the update on this. Can you explain to me why we're paying for a dredge site right now, but then we're hoping to get in the fiscal year 2019 for the federal budget, just so people watching online understand that also?
Sure, that's a good question. The reason for that is item number 1 right here. In order to move the contributed funds agreement ahead with the Army Corps, we needed to have a site set aside and secured so that they could start doing design work. Without that, they really couldn't do any of the work. So we needed to get that going now so we wouldn't lose time on the project.
Okay.
That's the main reason.
Thanks. That's the only question I had.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you. Mr. LaCour, you got it?
Okay, so we'll move on to the next project.
Before you go to the next project, I just want to do just a little fast summary in between, just a few updates before you get to that. And again, we can talk, we knew this was going to be a longer presentation, so we're going to highlight, but just some of the notes between 1 and 16 that he gets for Commissioner Sieber, where Gary Sherman is working with the people at Community Gardens. They say we're getting ready to have a fence installed. It got a little delayed because there seems to be a demand for fencing. So, but we're going to start on some groundwork, and the Community Gardens is proceeding forward. I know most all of you've been out to Richard Owen Park. We just got some minor things to finish on that, but the neighborhood, that's become a beautiful park from an eyesore, and we're very proud of that project. As you see under there, Highland Park is the next one. It's an underutilized park, and we've got some ideas, and that's the next one we're going to be working on. Ring Street parking lot, we're finally, after all the hurdles, getting ready to go to that. So that'll be working. Items 8, 9, and 10, of course, is the rest of the Sponge Docks project, the Athens and the corridor sidewalks on Hope Street and Athens Street. Out to bid, getting ready to go, and we will have it done before season. So it'll be in and done before season. We're on track with those. Court Street parking, that's an in-house project, and we're kind of inundated with a lot of them. The only delay is that we've got so many in-house projects we're doing. It's just a little delayed, but we're ready as soon as the crew gets done with a few things they've had to do to work on that. We're getting ready, hopefully, for Mears. We're getting to the final stages for the apartments and the road. So you'll probably hear some more about that real soon. And of course, again, as we've seen with 2.5 years to permit a simple canoe kayak launch, we're still dealing with some issues on the marina, but we're at the end of that, and we should be ready for our marina, our launch, and all that stuff, the final permitting. So people should be seeing construction starting on that going through, and that'll lead to 16 in your next project.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And I did mean to invite, when I started, if I don't touch on any of the projects that are in that list that you wanted to discuss, by all means, please just bring them up at any point.
Yeah.
But I'll just hit on these and we'll move on.
But I'd like to comment the one that Mr. LaCour just mentioned, item number 8, the Sponge Docks.
Sure.
Which
8, 9, and 10.
8, 9, and 10. Well, 10 is Hope Street. 8 and 9 is what?
It's all the one project.
Okay. What I was going to say is, being that this is a main street connecting the Sponge Docks with the downtown, I think it's a good opportunity to pave the streets now that we're doing all the improvement. Are we thinking about that?
No.
Why?
Because it's not budgeted, and it's something we may do about it, but that's not within the scope of the money that we have.
Well, I was thinking, being that paving is a different program that we have, if we can incorporate that with the
Well,
other
we'll be
program.
dealing that in another 3 weeks in the budget time, so that's something we can talk about when we talk about the budget, because it would have to be a budgeted item.
Okay, even though that we have 1 year that we're paving, the other year that we're doing, right?
Yeah, but our
Already-
projects
they're
are already committed.
They're very committed.
You've seen the big one was, as everybody knows, the Riverside and the roads that you've seen, so.
All right.
Did I mention something before? Are you going to go on to like number 11 or 12 or 13 or 14? Or
16 is the next one.
16, okay.
16.
I just wanted to thank the city for what you have done for the community garden. We have over 100 active members or people who are interested in participating in the garden and are anticipating our finish here, which will be a little while. But I want to thank you for what you've done and it's already looking much better than it did.
Especially with the rain, it's looking like.
Yes, yeah, I mean, it's green, actually. So I want to thank you, and of course, all the people who worked on this garden. And the president of the garden is sitting back there, Mark Bartholomew. And I'm also happy about 8, 9, and 10 because that's been a long-awaited project, and I know a lot of people on the docks have been concerned about that. So, yeah, thank you.
Any other comments?
About 16?
Okay, let's talk about number 16.
Okay.
Lake Tarpon Sewer Phase 3. This project is a sewer system expansion in the Lake Tarpon area. It's adding 53 new connections to our sewer system. Construction oversight will be provided by the Project Administration Department. Current status is the construction contract was approved and awarded at the last BOC on the 27th. I believe it's here. The contract is here now for signature, I think, Tom. As was reported at that meeting, the construction bids came in about $250,000 under budget, which was a pleasant surprise. Next steps on this one would be to have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor and hopefully to begin construction later this month or early in August. Any questions on that one?
Yes, phase 1 and phase 2 already has been completed, right?
Correct.
With these, now that we have so many people that are waiting to be hooked up, and I asked you once before, and asked Mr. Licouris, that if we can look for a grant, see if there's anything available to help the people financially to hook up, because it's very expensive for some people to be able to do that.
There are several financing opportunities or options available, and I think there's even a I forgot what we call it, but there's a special program for low income or something related to that alleviates at least the finance charges related to that. So it can be spread out over multiple years, the impact fees to hook up.
And I guess we'll be able to communicate that to the people, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
We did send out and hand-delivered informational flyers when we put the information out about this project that does explain that a little bit and invites them to call us with questions related to that.
This is the last phase. We'll be finishing up the area.
I believe this is, yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody has any questions on that?
I don't have any questions. I have a comment. I'm like, finally, we're getting done with this. I mean, how long have we been working on this?
It's been years, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm really happy to see this this completed. Could I get a copy of that, whatever you've given out? I mean, you don't have to do it right now or anything.
This letter?
Yeah, that, please. Because if
I
I
have
get
one.
questions,
could pass
if you
it
could
down.
pass one down.
If anyone else would like one, let me know and I'll have them distributed.
Or just put them in our mailbox. That's
Sure.
fine. Oh, wait, a special delivery. Thank you. So
I'll have
what
Trish put copies in your mailboxes.
Thank you.
do you know what the cost is of
To hook up?
people to hook up?
Ooh.
It's given on, you're looking on the right side of that flyer there. Gives the impact fee and then the tap-in fee and the
Actually, it's
deposit.
lower than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, good. Thank you for this, because people ask us questions.
Sure.
And
And one thing to clarify on that is that's the impact fees, the connection fees to the city. To physically make the connection, the private homeowner will also have to pay a plumber to make that physical connection. That's an additional cost that we don't include in that because we don't recommend
Okay.
licensed plumbers.
So that's what I was thinking, because usually I thought the cost total is around 3,000, so that probably
It could be
would
that
it.
much if, depending on what the plumber has to do to make the connection.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Robinson, the septic tank that is there must be removed by the customer?
They can
Or it can
either have
stay?
it removed or they can abandon them in place. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Carr?
I had a question during the last meeting about being under budget for this project and also looking at potentially the water lines.
Yes.
Is that something that could be looked at still for being under budget in that situation?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because of your question. One of the things we're going to do at this pre-construction meeting is talk to the contractor about replacing some of the lines that are 30, 40 years old. There's some very small 2-inch galvanized pipe in that area, and we'd like to replace that with the newer HDPE or PVC piping to improve water quality. So if there's an opportunity, that might be a change order that we'd look to doing, depending on, if it's a reasonable number. We have to negotiate that with the contractor.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Guess we're good to 17.
Okay, on we go. The next update I have is Project 22. I'm going to circle back on 17, Mr. Mayor, because I'm going to spend a little more time on that one.
Okay,
I'll save that one for the end.
all right.
So if you want to ask me about 18, 19, 20, or 21, we can pause on that. Otherwise, I'll just keep on moving here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, seeing none.
I got just a quick question on the Mears Crossing apartments. Is there any anticipation of breaking ground on that?
Yeah, we're working as fast as we can. I've been helping the building department out with trying to get the site development permit approved. We have a package that's being assembled this week. We're hoping to be able to get them approved this week so they can get started.
Great.
They put together a big response. We had to have some engineering oversight or engineering review, third-party review, but I think we're getting there.
Okay. And then the Bayshore Heights, I know there's been some issues with like the trucks going through town. Would that be the police department over that, or who reports like those types of issues? Do they come back to your office, like when the dump trucks don't take the trucking route and so on?
Yeah, that would actually was managed through the building department. I think Steve Wire was handling that situation. I don't think that's an issue anymore.
Okay.
But if it still is an issue, please make sure that gets. I will make sure that gets reported. If you want to have calls come to me, that's fine.
Okay.
I can route them where they need to go.
Thanks.
I haven't heard that one in a while.
I haven't
but-
either. No. Okay. So project number 22, item number 22, is the West Winds and Grassy Point Reclaim Water Project. This is reclaim water system expansion to 2 neighborhoods. It's a project we're doing simultaneously, which would allow us to connect up to 335 new connections. And I want to take a second to put that number in perspective. We currently have about 1,000 reclaim water connections citywide. It's 900 and something. So even if we got 50% or so of these connections, we're talking about as much as a 20% increase in the number of connections and users connected to our reclaim water system. So it's a pretty big project. And because of that, and because it had so much, a good amount of potable water offset, we were able to get grant funding from the SwiftMud for this project. So it is a grant-funded project, and at SwiftMud's recommendation, we combined these two to get a better cost effectiveness. So it's a good example of working together with the Water Management District. Current status on this is the design is about 40% completed. Through the design process, we've required and been able to get mostly directional drilling installation, which means we'll have minimal disruption in the neighborhoods. And we did a field route review. My entire staff and I walked every street with the engineer looking at where these things were going to go, so we had a good understanding of where the pipes were going to be. And I have a pretty good feeling that it's going to be minimally disruptive. We chose spots to try to minimize that. Next steps would be to issue the draft pipe alignments to the residents for review. It's already on our webpage. It's been there for a few weeks. But we'll also be sending out an email blast. I've got an email list of a significant number of the residents in both these neighborhoods through which we communicate. And I'll be looking to host a public meeting for public input and review of those plans here coming up in the next few weeks or so.
If you let me know when you go to that.
Absolutely.
Because I already met with these people.
I have nothing scheduled yet, but if you want,
I already met with them, so.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to go and talk to
Okay.
them. Thank
You-
you.
Do you want us to schedule that when you get back, or?
If that's, yeah.
Okay. Any questions on this project?
They're anxious to get it.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
What's
Get the service.
the hookup fee for reclaimed water? Is there an impact fee for that? For
Yeah,
the residents?
yes, there is.
Off your head or
It's 300 and
It's a lot less.
something to tap in, and then there's a deposit as well.
So it's similar
There's no
to,
impact fee though, but
Okay.
there is a connection fee.
It's similar to like just a normal connection fee for regular water. Then.
Yeah, exactly. A meter, it includes, that cost covers the meter coming in and everything.
If you can make a diagram on how they need to hook up to their irrigation, just to give them an idea, because that's one of the things they asked the last time we met.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll look into doing that. Any other questions on project number 22? Okay, so next one I'm going to talk about is 29, so if there's anyone in between, I see a hand.
Yes, I have
Feel like
one
an
for in between.
auctioneer.
I feel like I'm in school.
Which one?
Number 26. Is that near Tarpon L? Is that what is that? Okay.
Yes.
Because I had talked with some people on SAC, and they were concerned about the children crossing, and I did speak with Chief about it quite a while ago, and, you know, putting signs out, because there's really no sign or blinking light or anything, you know, slow down or, you know, anything, any precautions whatsoever. So I know Chief said he would look into it, and so this I see is on here, because he said there was that fence that was put around, and maybe kids would just go through the walkway where the fence is, so they don't cut, you know, across the street, diagonal, you know, they're at the proper areas where they need to be. So, can you just tell me what you're doing here? Sidewalks, tree trimming?
Yeah, I've been, Gary Sherman is working, in my department, is working on this with Tom Funchen in the Public Works, and they're trying to update the sidewalks, like you said, do some tree trimming, really just kind of, this is internal work, in-house work that we're trying to do. They're trying to improve that as a safety corridor. The idea was to target getting this done before school starts in the fall. There's various miscellaneous work requests that are going in, so we're just kind of doing it in our internal
And it includes looking
system.
at maybe some signage, looking at all that towards in there to make that a whole safe corridor.
I wasn't
so.
even sure if there was a crossing guard over there.
Yeah.
Is there a crossing guard? Because I drove through, you know, I went and drove through to check it out. So I know there were some concerns, and I heard a child hit. But anyway, okay, at least I know that something's being worked on. I can report back to them. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, that came up in our safety or school transportation safety board meeting too, like about a month ago. That same area. That was one of the areas that was highlighted in the county of needs to be addressed, and so it's good to see that the
Good, because
city's
I know, like I
making-
said, SAC had some concerns about it, and I know they were, I told them who they can contact and whatnot, so, good. I'm glad it's being addressed. Thank you.
And just a note, Commissioner Terrapini should be sitting home very happy because this is really upgraded since he did it. I think almost all the trees are in on Gulf Road for the Gulf Road landscaping project. They were even working out there today, so I think that's one of the first things going to be updated on there, and he's already let me know about how happy he is to see how it looks. That was one of the things he had brought up and envisioned for that corridor by the school, and so I think we're about done. I think every tree is in place now. They've been braced, and it looks beautiful along Gulf Road, so.
Okay. So let's talk about number 29. This is the swimming pool project. This is, of course, a brand-new swimming pool project to be built on the Pinellas County School Board property at the high school. Through a joint agreement with the county school board, the city will be paying for the design and construction of this swimming pool. And the school board is providing the property, as I said, and a large share of the operations and maintenance costs going forward for this project. The school board is managing the construction of the project with city input, and the city will have scheduled reimbursements and installments for the construction. Current status is we have a conceptual design now and a cost estimate for a pool that will meet our budget. It took quite a while to get to that point. The school board has hired Ed Hoffman to do the design work on this, so we have someone we're comfortable working with. But the good news is we do have something now that's within the budget to work with, and so we're ready to move this thing forward. I wanted to point out that the county is using a CMAR, that's Construction Manager at Risk method of construction. It's kind of like a design build. And for a project like this, it's a good thing because what you can do is often you can get an expedited project, and it's typically easier and less complex, for less complex projects like this one. So I think we'll probably be able to make up some time on the schedule. Not all of it, but we'll get back there. And then moving ahead here, on your agenda tonight under special consent, we're asking for approval of an amendment to the original agreement with the school board. I'm calling it a housekeeping amendment because it's essentially capturing some certain items that weren't included in the original agreement. And when we get to that special consent item, I can talk more about that if you prefer. We'll also be finalizing the design and initiating some site work. The city's going to be contributing some forces to do a stormwater pond relocation. This was something that was captured also in that agreement in an effort to help save some of the construction costs. And the school board is telling me they estimate construction completion by spring of 2018, which I think is impressive. If they can do that, that'd be great. Any questions on this project?
Yes, Mr. Robinson. Being that the school board is another local agency, do they need to get permits from us to start building the?
Building permits? Yeah, they sure will.
They still need to do that. And we also going to go through the same process, the building process. We're going to have inspections and all these, right?
Certainly.
Okay, to ensure that we have a quality product.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you were very comfortable with the design build because that's how you do it, our road
Yes,
plan. So
that's my experience. Yes,
your
sir.
experience with that. Any idea when we're going to start construction?
They are ready to, well, they got to finish the design, and they've done the preliminary work. They've held off on continuing the design until we get this amendment approved. If, assuming that our board approves this tonight, it goes to the school board on January 25th. After that, I expect they'll finalize the design and probably start doing some of the initial site work and construction early.
I'm asking these questions for the divers,
The divers?
just because they want to know when the pool is going to be ready.
Well, I do want to point out that
Or the-
The divers, swimming team, the divers.
there's
Well,
no
I
dive
think it's
team.
okay.
It's not going to be the diving.
Did I say
portion of
January?
it.
I'm sorry.
July.
July, I apologize.
July?
School, yeah, July 25th.
January to spring, that's pretty
That's pretty impressive. That would be impressive.
2 months. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Any questions?
I
Vice
just
Mayor
want-
Panther?
Yes,
Mike.
you know, I supported this initiative kind of with my nose plugged because we do need a pool, and it's, you know, it's kind of the deal we have to do, but I still have heartburn about us paying for a pool on somebody else's property. I just want to be clear, we have fully performed from the very beginning. It's been the school board, correct, that has failed to perform?
To perform?
Well, in the agreement, they to get ready to move forward, because we're paying for the pool itself, but the delay has been on the school board side, correct?
I would say yes. That's a
Okay.
reasonable way to say it.
Well, I mean, it would be wonderful if our residents could realize this by, we'll say, summer, you know, next year. But I would, you know, I would encourage, if we don't see action soon on that, you know, we as a board need to ask how long the school board can tie up our penny budget, because, you know, I support this addendum tonight and moving forward, but, you know, that's $1.5 million. And I think it's time that we start seeing some action from the school board. It's encouraging that they've hired Hoffman, and I'm hoping that means that, you know, we'll see some construction soon for next summer. And I'm glad that you're obviously keeping tabs on that as well. But it's something I want to keep our eye on, as that's a lot of money that we're holding up.
Commissioner Sieber?
Understood.
Yes, we're all anxious for this, and I'm glad that it's back on and starting the project again. And we met and talked about this, and you told me about some of the housekeeping, certain items that were not included in the agreement. So that's important that we have everything in the agreement as well, so that we know that everything is covered before we do move forward. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? No, we'll move on.
Okay. Now we're going to circle back to item 17.
Okay.
And save this one for the end because I have several slides to explain some options on this one. But before I get to that, did you want to talk about any of the other items?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Anybody? No, we're fine.
All right, good. So this project is the South Spring Boulevard Multi-Use Trail. And project description is a feasibility analysis of adding pedestrian access, or improving pedestrian access, I should say, on South Spring Boulevard. Current status, we're exploring several alternatives, some of which I'll discuss here. We had our engineer of record complete an analysis of shoreline alternatives, and we also have some of our own alternatives to propose and discuss. Let's see if I can find my notes. So the next step would be to discuss and decide on the best option moving forward. Excuse me just a moment. I misplaced one of, oh, here it is. Okay. So just an overview of the location, talking about the section of South Spring between Craig Park and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. And when I talked about shoreline alternatives, talking about the west side of the right-of-way. And possibly looking at, the question came up about adding some kind of multi-use access or trail to the west side. Now, obviously, there's going to be some challenges if we were to do any work along that side of the right-of-way. You've got several things like overhead electric, you've got stormwater, there's buried cable, and then, of course, we've got the revetment project, the Army Corps project, which includes a seawall, combination of seawall and a deep riprap boulder field. This was an Army Corps project. It was completed, I think, in 2012. It was co-funded. 35% was split between the city and county, and then the remaining 65% was the Army Corps. City and county roughly contributed about $600,000 each, not quite that much, but very close to that, and the Army Corps at $2.2 million. The Army Corps, as I said, this is an Army Corps project, and the preliminary feedback we've got from the Army Corps along the way here over the last really couple of years is that it would be very unlikely to make any changes to the work that the Army Corps has done here. There is a process through which we can apply to alter any of this, to add a trail or some kind of sidewalk or something. But I want to talk about that process for a minute. It's a policy they've outlined. They call it Section 408. And I want to read one sentence that says that, quoting from it, Army Corps projects can't be altered, which alterations include building on, moving, occupying, or otherwise affecting the usefulness or the structural or ecological integrity of a project. So based on that, it would be a very difficult process. This Section 408 process is a 9-step process. Includes, you'd have to include 60% plans and specifications demonstrating that it won't affect this project and what it was designed to do, which is protect the Whitcomb Bayou shoreline from erosion. We'd have to provide a hydrologic and hydraulic system performance analysis, environmental analysis, and then if you get through all that and you get the Secretary of the Army to approve your project, then you get the opportunity to go apply for a permit from the Army Corps. And how long has it taken us to get a marina permit? Yeah. It's really not a favorable option, but there is a process. I just wanted to say that there is a process involved. Now, we had our engineer of record look at any way that we could possibly modify this, and he was really only able to come up with one way, and this is what it looked like. This is essentially digging up the entire thing and redoing it. That's what it comes down to. It would involve complete excavation of all the riprap, installation of a brand new seawall, adding a railing because the elevation of the new platform would be hazardous with the riprap that has to get installed. You've all seen those boulders, so for safety's sake, anything up and adjacent to them would require a railing. Obviously, that would be an aesthetic issue. And then, of course, the big issue, I think, in my mind, is the cost of this. They're estimating $2 million construction costs, not including design and permitting. And it would be an extensive design and permitting effort. So that's to say that it would be probably pretty difficult to do this option. So what else could we do? Well, we do have some other ideas that we'd like to discuss. One would be potentially repairing and replacing the existing sidewalks along South Spring. And we have sidewalks along the east side. These are only 4 feet wide, so we would consider them to be non-conforming. So we'd want to replace those with 5-foot wide sidewalks. And of course, there are segments along the way that don't have sidewalks. So that would require acquiring easements. And then, of course, there's a lot of trees and things to work around. So we estimate it could cost something on the order of $70,000 to $100,000 to upgrade the sidewalks on that side of the road. Another option would be to consider converting this section of roadway to a one-way street and adding a multi-use trail. I put together an illustration here to kind of show what that might look like. So the roadway is about 18 feet on average, which is pretty narrow for a two-way street to begin with. Mike's shaking his head. What we envisioned was possibly doing something like this, creating a 12-foot travel lane for vehicular traffic a 6-foot pedestrian lane or multi-use trail, and we'd want to elevate that as a sidewalk to separate it from vehicular traffic, possibly even adding in some low-lying shrubbery to soften the visual effect of these of the revetment project, the erosion control. Excuse me, erosion control, probably about knee-high, something to that effect. And then converting this into a one-way street. The way I've drawn it up here is a southbound, but it could be also northbound. And we estimate the cost to be somewhere around $100,000 to $150,000 for all of this work. That would include the cost of doing what I would highly recommend is a traffic circulation study. We can have our engineer of record do this for $20,000 or less. That would consider both directions as the one-way direction. It would also take into account traffic flow. Obviously, PD and fire would need input on whether we were able to convert this to a one-way at all. But I think there are a lot of benefits to doing this, and one of them is that we wouldn't have to work with the Army Corps for any kind of permit. So that's kind of the summary of this one. If there are questions on this one, we'll stop here to discuss it.
Seems like we still have some investigation to
Certainly.
do. So my recommendation is when you get all these options, if you bring it back to us and for discussion,
Well,
and especially the one that building the 6 feet sidewalk and one-way street, that's something that I never thought about, and I guess everything is possible, but let's talk about all the options.
Certainly.
we got. Mr. LaCourse?
well, I just want to note, again, I think this finally, we keep talking about this probably for the last 3 or 4 years. You know, I know from the start, because from our preliminary things, yes, the Army Corps won't give you a decision, but we know Gary Sherman's worked out, talked to him. We knew that there's really going to be nothing we can do on that side without an elaborate $2 million project, because we knew the conditions of it and what it does. I don't think people realize what bad condition that is along there. And it's not just rocks on top. I mean, you can get in deep, but it goes into the ground. That whole section of the road was going to be falling in very, very short amount of time. When you talk about it, it was going in. The extent of those boulders, how deep they go into the ground and stuff, they were an extreme option, but they were the only option at that time to try to save that road for the next 20, 30 years. And I know there's all the talk about unsightly, but something trumps unsightly, and that's the safety in keeping that road, and that's why it's done. And that's why it's such a chore to try to undo it, because of how elaborate the engineering, and you can sit down with Bob and actually see how underground and stuff and what that road was built on underneath and why it's so weak. There's a lot of different reasons and stuff, but that way's out. So really, I think as soon as late as 3 years ago, I pretty much said there's 2 things we're going to be able to do: the sidewalk on the one side or the one-way. So what we'd probably do next is probably go out into the neighborhood and talk with the neighbors and find out about it, firm down, the 2 options, and probably bring those 2 back to you at a later time, because I think those are the only 2 viable opportunities for that road. And of course, in that, we need to design the intersections, especially at Spring and MLK. We'll show you some safety, some crossings. We've already talked about doing that. So if it's the consensus tonight, we'll start doing the rest of those things and then bring that back to you in a later meeting.
Yeah. Because building a sidewalk on the street is very important, because it's not only for recreation purpose, but it's safety.
Mm-hmm.
Every morning I see people walking, jogging on the street, and when it's dark and it's unsafe condition. So we must do something with that.
Mayor?
And when we bring all the options here, I like to have a neighborhood, some kind of a public hearing where we can get the input from the people. Well, Mr. Kick.
Thank you. I love this idea about the second idea here.
Which one?
This one with the sidewalk.
That was the third option.
I love it.
Yeah.
And the first option's not even an option to me. But because I know when I drive, it is narrow, and if there's another car coming and I pull over and wait, because it's too narrow. And can you imagine when the school buses are going up and down that street?
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing. So I love the one-way. Have you gotten this far, though? Is with the one-way, do you know, go all the way up to, what's that?
Anna.
Banana
Anna.
to Martin Luther
Three-way.
King.
Yeah,
Yeah,
up there.
yeah.
Okay, because that would be important if it would go
That-
all the way.
And again, that's the intersection we got to put crosswalks and all that kind of stuff, and that would be in the whole design.
And that'd be
I think
something
Sidewalks
we'd want to put in the study
And
to
then
evaluate
also-
how far it could go
Right,
or
you're
should
right,
go.
see how far it could go, because I know in the weekends with the boat traffic going in, trailering and stuff, that has to be taken into consideration, and, like I said, the school buses going up and down there. But, my other question on that, if you could, look into, or if you already have, I'm not sure, with the sidewalks on this side, you know, there are areas that there are no sidewalks, would that be included in this price? So we'd have the one, I talk with my hands, I'm sorry. The one side over here,
Over here on the
walk
right,
and run, and then this other side where there's already existing sidewalks, would you add in to where there aren't any? Because, you know, there's some spots along there that there's no sidewalk connecting.
well, to do that was the first, I guess, the first staff alternative that I presented. So that would probably add another $70,000 to $100,000 where we'd have to acquire easements and
Well, one of the
remove
biggest problems,
trees.
just go look at one of the biggest problems we got along. We're going to tear up some people's homes and yards and
Oh, yeah, we
big
don't wanna do
trees.
it.
I mean, just right, you don't realize until you ride and look and see, oh, we're going to destroy some nice looking properties. And I'm sure none of them are going to, I mean, if we have to for walking, we will. But if we had this alternative,
And
we were
just
thinking
keep it
about
on
a
that
place to
side.
cross where the sidewalk started, so you could cross over and go to the piece of sidewalk, maybe just do a simple sidewalk repair. So all those will add as considerations of doing. But really, next time you ride by, see what you're gonna have to tear up
Yeah.
and restructure. Even if you go around the trees, you're gonna really make some, I think, people
Yeah, we might.
real unhappy with those homes that's been there forever like that. I don't think it's gonna be pretty, so. But we'll look at all that when we bring it back
Okay,
to
yeah,
you.
and like the mayor said, you know, having the community involved and in the discussions.
Yeah,
I think that's
it's
a
the
great
best way to
idea.
go.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Sieber.
Yes, well, you know, Mark, I've been talking about this for over 3 years.
Yes. Yes, you
And,
have.
Thank you also for meeting with me and talking about it. I actually have had neighbors propose the one-way because it is so dangerous. From MLK all the way to Banana, if there's a boat and a trailer and 2 cars and someone jogging and bicycling, it's very dangerous. So I really like the third option, and I'd like to see about us moving forward, and I want to go ahead and make a motion that we do the study and move forward with looking at that.
I think you can give me a consent. This is a presentation, but if you give me a consent, we're not gonna spend the whole, but, you know, we
That
can.
we at least do the study and see the
Yeah.
feasibility.
Because
of
we got
that-
more
of that
information we got to gather ourselves before we even bring it back to you for a presentation. We want to if you like the idea, we're going to put a little more work into it, and then we got to go out to get the actual traffic study. We'll bring that back to you, but we got a lot of in-house.
Isn't that study going to cost money, though, that we'd have to?
Yeah, we can bring that back to you. We still have some work to do before we go to that, to
Okay.
bring back and show you. And then, for instance, if we have to do we go back to the commission, authorize a traffic study. But we have more work to put into it. If you kind of like the idea and want us to go more, we'll do our staff work and then come back to you to get a vote for going for a study, look which way or that sort of thing. We'll bring that to a future meeting.
Another thing that people have brought up to me in that neighborhood is the speeding in the bayou. And we're worried about erosion, and I know that people are asking for a no-wake zone there because there's water skiing and jet skis, and since we are concerned about the erosion, that definitely is creating or helping with the erosion. So that would be something I would like to maybe look into with looking at a no-wake zone in there.
Yeah.
Could save the road too, since, as you said, Mark, it's not, it could be in trouble if we have less traffic on it.
Car?
I'm pretty passionate about this part of town, and I really think it's a disgrace to the town what the Army Corps did. It's hard to believe that this is the only option that they had, was to put the riprap there and not at least cover up and put dirt or some type of grass on top of it. this just is a prime example of we have to be so diligent and we have to pay so much attention no matter what authority comes into our town. We have to go through those projects. And I feel that we dropped the ball as a city on this project. Because this is just a absolutely disgrace to me that this is here with this neighborhood with kids that run up and down this area and the road that's as narrow as it is today. So I would encourage the staff just to, no matter who's coming into our town, that we have to be very diligent in looking at these projects, because it's hard to believe that this is the only option that was available. Moving forward, though, thank you for bringing these options ahead. I would like to make a third recommendation as an alternative to maybe a one-way street, is looking at widening the street a little bit. It looks like there's some right-of-way between the sidewalk and the road. That's a pretty decent amount compared to other parts of town. So if we extend the road a foot or 2 feet to allow some additional room for the traffic, and then if there's still an option to increase the sidewalk as a third alternative. I think it's a great idea what you brought in front of us today. I appreciate you putting this together. Does the traffic study encompass like the whole Fruit Bowl area? Because I would imagine a one-way street would impact many other streets. in the area.
Absolutely. It looks at how the traffic patterns would change, where they would go. It analyzes the condition of the roads that would be seeing the heavier traffic now because of the one-way circulation. It also looks at weekend and weekday flows. So yes, it absolutely would.
Would it look at other one-way street potentials then? If we're looking, if we're just looking at a one-way street here, would they look at other roads in that area? Because there's a lot of street parking on a lot of those roads that it's difficult to, I don't know if it's Pineapple. I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah.
It's very difficult even to go down that street if you have two cars coming at each other because of all the street parking. I would
Could
like
certainly include that in the study.
That's one of the things I think it would look at. It would look at if it diverts it, for instance, to Pineapple, the possibility of if you're doing this, you need to make Pineapple one way going the opposite way. That may be something that it shows you, because that would probably be where the study would say the traffic would go. So that's one of the things to look at. If you do this here, you're going to affect this other area, and we may need to talk about doing something there. And that's what it'd show you, to give those options of what you may need to do for the whole neighborhood's benefit.
Okay, thanks.
Ms. Seaver, you got something else?
Are you done?
No.
Oh, sorry.
To clarify, the trees that were concerned, the majority of those trees are going to be pretty old laurel oaks that are not in great shape already. So with a sidewalk, if something did have to, those trees are probably going to have to come down in the next 10 years already because of the age of them. So then those trees being close to the diseased and kind of coming to their useful life, it might be even better to look at removing those and replacing them with like a live oak in those areas too. But then also looking at maybe putting some palm trees along the riprap with the trail too. That could be another option to soften that area, because there was a lot of trees removed and palm trees removed where the riprap was added. I had one other question. With the no wake zone, I know there's a lot of residents that use that as a kind of like a safe place to wakeboard or tube or be out on the boat. So I wouldn't support that myself.
No.
We've probably been doing it since I was a kid.
So with that said, I know that was brought up earlier. But I'm looking forward to this coming back in front of us, and thank you for bringing this in front of us, because I know it is a big safety issue for the town and for the residents and even the visitors that are here. So thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the no wake zone has been brought up to me by residents on that street as a concern. But one thing that we talked about today, when we're looking at other avenues, where to use like Pineapple or how to use Pineapple, is there's an alley behind all the homes between Lime and MLK. So a lot of the residents that live on South Spring use that alley to enter their properties. So that was something that, we can look at.
Yeah, we'll take that into account.
I think that's one we're looking at too, the one that they want paved and stuff.
I'm not sure if they asked for it to be paid.
There's another one like that, and the problem is where we send the stormwater to, and we are looking at that. the alley, one of the
Starts
alleys
like at
along.
Lime and goes
Yeah.
to MLK.
Yeah, we're looking at that. But there's a stormwater project, a problem of we're gonna send the water onto some people's properties, and that's not gonna make people happy.
Yep.
But we're looking at that.
I've got one other question for Bob. If we were to put dirt on top of the rocks, is that considered altering a project?
Yes, it is, believe it or not. And the problem, it's not really a problem, but the issue with that is it wouldn't stay there. It would get washed off, so it'd be a constant maintenance issue where we'd have to be trucking in dirt.
Yeah, I was just saying if you put dirt and then some type of vegetation on top of it, because I know there's like, I don't know, there's like railroad vines or something that grow on top that could help solidify some of the soil.
Yeah.
There's just always still the concern, though. I mean, those rocks, even if you're on a pedestrian path and you go into those rocks or someone's playing in them, it's just a very dangerous situation for, I think, the kids of the area.
Yeah, we've been told we can't touch that.
What's that?
We've been told we can't touch that.
I think Bob just said we could touch it, but it'd be a 9-step process. So
Right.
Well, besides that,
That's all I had for project updates.
And again, like I say, again, I think one of the best decisions this board made was to allow me to have Bob take over these projects. Obviously, when you see the scope of what we have together now and the fact that all different departments and we're running these from other, to have one person to get these coordinated, and again, it's on the website. Updates will be on the website, and so everybody can know what projects are going on and where they are.
Vice Mayor.
Oh, I forgot, Mark, as I talked to you on the phone, at the next meeting, could you give us an update on Old City Hall, on what we're gonna do to rehab or just fix the outside, the rotting wood around the windows?
Yeah, it is actually number 33.
33, okay.
Yeah. Basically, we've got the scope of what we are getting back what we need to do. We're about finished with the plant designs of what
Planning,
to do.
yeah.
The only holdup is going to be, and we're going to be talking about it in budget time, is where we slot it. It's slotted for complete. We got the design all set to do for just like City Hall almost, to complete the design and stuff. There's just a problem when we hit to the budget of if we're going to be able to fit it in this, whether it goes there or we have to wait till October 18 and do it, because it's looking like it's going to be about a $640,000 project with some other issues that we've added and stuff to the penny. It'll kind of put us close. So we'll be talking in budget time but we've got the design and the scope of work already. We'll be ready real soon so we'll know kind of.
I heard the design is something at like an 80% point now. The architect
80%
is
done
working
with
on it, right?
So we'll have it before you. It's just, and I know there's a hold on it says hold, and the hold is we have to talk about budget of when we slot it, but at least we'll have the work that all needs to be done is bid and done. We just need to know where we slot it with our other projects that we have and some things that's moved into the penny that,
So I assume that you can update us on that on the first workshop?
at the first budget workshop, that's what we'll be talking about
And then
that.
in the fall, I think, after we get through all this and the budget, really have a conversation with the board as best you start building. It's way under.
Yes, exactly. Agree.
Anything else, Mark? We're
I
good?
think that's it.
That's it? Bob,
Thank you.
thank you very much. And now we go into the public comments on this item. Any public comments? Here none. Okay, we go to the consent agenda. Item number 3 is the minutes, June 20th, 2017, regular session. Number 4 is partial release of liens. Number 5 is the attorney fees, invoice 54-323, invoice 1007, and invoice 1008. Number 6 is special events. Community Outreach Shepherd Center, August 4th, 2017. Number 7 is the award RFP number 170014-P-CM Audit Service Internal. Number 8 is authorized execution of Form DR 420, DR 420 TIF, and 420 MMP. Number 9 is increase file number 170007-NSRS, single source purchase of auto control chemicals. Number 10 is the award bid number 170114-B-RS sodium hydroxide tanks and containment. Number 11 is the award file number 170146-C-CM utilizing U.S. Communities Purchasing Alliance contract number 15JLP023 air conditioning products, installation services, and related products and services. Number 8 item, I'd like to pull that and ask Mr. Harry, who is over here today, to explain to us the DR 424, the millage rate, which remained the same as 5.42. Is any other items that you'd like to pull? Do you? Yes.
I would just like to ask a question about 5A, B, and C. Those
5A.
invoices, maybe this is to Mark. Those invoices come out to about $4,500. So that's above what we've been paying our eminent domain attorney, which is about another $5,000. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't think their bill isn't in here.
No.
These
so
are
This is in addition to what we've spent so far on eminent. I'd like another update on whether these properties are in compliance and what our total expenditure has been for the eminent domain attorney and these expenses, because we're looking at approximately $10,000 right now, I think, between these expenses and the eminent domain attorney. That's what I wanted to clarify.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
these come out to about $4,534, and then another approximately $5,000 that you gave us, I think, two months ago, that we had spent on the eminent domain attorney.
Okay, I think B and C are our labor attorney, not the eminent domain attorney.
They're not included into the,
Right, I know.
Yeah,
that
okay.
It's an addition, so I'm saying approximately 10,000 is what I'm
so you're
thinking.
requesting to have information on
Yeah, to have
Okay.
an update, because we were going to do that about every month, I thought, and so I think it's time.
Yeah, I don't think we've got a bill since then, but I'll have an update for you.
And, you know, what's going on with properties? Are they complying? Are they making any changes? Do we have any updates on that?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Herring?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Ron Herring, Finance Director. The DR 420 and the DR 420 TIF, which stands for Tax Increment Financing, and the DR 420 MMP, which stands for Maximum Millage, the Ps for Preliminary, are required by the state as part of the millage setting process for the fiscal year 2018 budget, which we're going to be working on, and need to be back to the state and the county by August 4th, 2017. The DR 420 form sets the tentative proposed millage rate for the city, and we are using 5.42 in the budget for fiscal year 2018, which is the current millage rate. And also the date of the first public hearing is set, which is scheduled now for Wednesday, September 6, 2017. And both of these information, the millage rate and the date of the first public hearing, will be on the trim notices that are mailed by the county on August 21st, 2017. DR 420 TIF, the tax increment financing, establishes a property value for the CRA, and that form is also used in trying to calculate the DR 420 and the DR 420 MMP. The DR 420 MMP, which it says the maximum millage preliminary, this form establishes the maximum millage rate and the voting requirements. A millage rate that is set up to 6.3580 would require a majority vote, 3 out of 5. 4 out of 5 votes would be required for a millage rate between 6.3581 to 6.9938, and unanimous vote, 5 out of 5, for a millage rate above 6.9938. And as you can see, we are well below the maximum millage rate there, which would just require the majority vote. But it's required that this form is done, and if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them on these forms.
Any commissioner comments, questions?
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. I was saying thanks for clarifying that because I wanted to pull it also, and when it was put on the agenda, it doesn't really say anything about the millage rate, so it was good. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on these items? Here none. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Kikta?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes. And we are now going to the special consent agenda, which is item number 12. Ratified appointment of fire chief effective September 7th, 2017. Mr. Licouris will do this presentation. Been waiting for that, Mark?
Those of you who were at the promotion ceremony on Thursday heard the official announcement from Chief Butcher that he's retiring. His last day will be September 6th. 39 years of service to this city. I go on, there'll be appropriate time for me to go on, but again, thank you, Chief Butcher. 39 years of service and dedication to the citizens of this community, and a well-deserved retirement coming up. Obviously, that leaves me a decision, but fortunately, it leaves me an easy decision. As in the police department and other departments in the city, there's a very capable second in command that I could go through all the information about him in the backup, but you've read it, you've seen him in operation. Scott Young, I had no qualms upon hearing the final announcement and getting it to tell you that per my duties, I have no problem and honored to present him as the next fire chief. Obviously, by the charter, I choose the person, but you as a commission ratify it. I'm doing this, some may wondering, well, you're just jumping in right after Rick retires, you're jumping right in and do it. One of the main reasons I'm doing this is by you ratifying it tonight, they can start the process, because obviously it starts a domino effect. You're going to have to choose a new deputy chief. That'll mean probably a new district chief. That'll mean a new lieutenant. So by you doing it, they can start the process of those 3 other promotions, and we will end up September 6th with 4 promotions. In addition to that, we are working on at least 2 fire positions, which one of them will be another deputy chief. If that goes into effect, and we're going to talk about that at our budget meeting with the commission and my ideas on that, which I'm hoping to get an early approval on, which means September 6th, we will not only have a thank you and an outgoing of Chief Butcher, an incoming of the future chief there, but a possibility of 7 promotions, which means the entire future of the fire department is going to be before you, and probably one of the biggest ceremonies we've ever seen in the city on September 6th to make sure you put it on your calendar. So that's what we're looking at. Again, very important district chief, lieutenant. We'll have, if that all goes through, 2 lieutenants, 2 district chiefs, 2 deputy chiefs, and all that. So again, your future of the fire department, you will see them at that meeting. So your approval tonight starts the domino effect, and at least there's 3 additional promotions that they'll be working on, ready to go. And, they've assured me they'll have enough time that we'll be able to do that entire promotion ceremony on September 6th to start the new era on September 7th. So what I'm asking you tonight is by the charter for you to ratify my selection as Scott Young as fire chief effective September 7th, 2017. Scott's in the audience. Rick's in the audience. Thank you, Milton Smith, for coming. I know you're here. You've been, you're one of us like me and them who's been around here a long time and supported us, Palm Harbor Fire, and plus our chaplain here. So thank you for coming here to support this, and I ask the commission to ratify the selection as fire chief on September 7th.
Thank you. Well, first, I'd like to congratulate Fire Chief Butcher on his retirement. And I want to thank you, Chief Butcher, for your outstanding service to our community. You started working on our fire department since 1978 as a volunteer. Before that, we worked for the same company, GTE. You came up the ranks and you became the fire chief. That's some achievement, and congratulations for everything that you have done. You've been instrumental for us to get in both fire stations, 69 and 71. You also been instrumental getting the fireboat getting the latest equipment available for our firefighters. That's just to name some of the few of the things that you have done. I'd like to wish you to have a great retirement, and on behalf of the city and the people of Tarpon Springs, I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for your dedication. I want to thank you for everything you have done for the city of Tarpon Springs. Mr. Licouris, I support your selection to appoint Mr. Scott Young as our new fire chief. I had the opportunity lately to get to know Mr. Young. I think he's an excellent person, very professional. He has the experience, he has the skills, he has the dedication. I believe he will be a great fire chief for the city of Tarpon Springs. I am confident that with his leadership ability and his dedication, he'll be able to train the new firefighters and all the positions that you mentioned just a few minutes ago, to shape the department to be to his image. And I believe that our department, our fire department, will continue to be one of the best in the area. Fire Chief Young, I want to congratulate you and thank you for accepting the position. Vice Mayor Penn.
Yes, thank you. And it's no mystery that I like to be involved with the fire department. I put some gray hairs on Mark for it, I think. I want to thank Butcher for, that's impressive, 39 years anywhere, but let alone in a government body. That's very impressive. You have given your life to Tarpon Springs, and I appreciate that. And I remember some times when I would be pressing some things. I think one time you kindly said that I think you've been doing this longer than I've been alive. So, which is the truth. So that's just impressive to me. I don't know if I'll be in the same industry for 39 years. So, it is a well-deserved retirement, and I'm sure you'll be happy to be on the sidelines now. And I'll say the rest for my stuff at your proper ceremony. But I'm also glad that we are doing proper ceremonies, which is for police and fire, for people that have served as long as Butcher has, and then the incoming. That's important to recognize those life milestones, not just have them in a multi-purpose room all the time. But I'm very excited about Chief Young stepping up. I started talking to Mark about him about a year or two ago, and that I kind of wanted to see that happen. I think it leaves zero downtime. I think he's more than equipped to lead the department. I think he has the respect amongst the labor, inside the department. And I'm looking forward to the new things he'll bring that he'll bring. And also, like Mark said, with the domino effect, that's a lot of promotions to have. And I really do think that we're going to have the 2.0, the next generation of the fire department with us. And I'm very excited to see where they take that. So I wish Chief Butcher a good retirement, obviously, and I'm looking forward to Chief Young to at least working with you for the remainder of my term. Thank you.
Mr. Seaver.
Yes, of course, I agree with my colleagues, and I did congratulate you the other day, and I want to congratulate you again for all your years of service. And are you going to go into acting now full-time, or? And Scott, you've worked really hard, and I know you're in 3 years out of a 4-year program that you're involved in. I recommended you for Leadership Pinellas because I think you'd be a great candidate, and I'm looking forward to hearing about that. So yeah, great choice, and I also recommend this choice, and thank you for serving Mr. Butcher.
Mr. Carr?
Congratulations on your retirement upcoming. And Mark, I just had a couple questions for clarification purposes. Is there like a typical vetting process for like other applications, or is it just more like it was great that we had someone ready to step up for the position and then we're just going to appoint him? Or how does that work?
By the rule, it's solely my choice. I can do a vetting process or going out or do it. Obviously, would it have to be ratified by the commission? You could tell me to not do it that way and go out and do it, but it's my authority to do that appointment the way I see. But then again, it has to go for you to be ratified. So in most occasions we've had in promotions I've done, and that's the way I was brought up to train in departments to train. You try to train from within for the seamless transition. And again, this would be no question that I already have my best person for the job right here. So,
Okay. And I was looking at, I mean, he's got a lot of different qualifications, which is very encouraging to see. But is there something that is required by the state for fire chiefs to have that isn't obtained yet, or anything that needs to be obtained? Is that something that?
no,
Okay.
he's obtained everything.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm excited about it. So
I just had one other question. What time is the party on the 6th? Because
We
don't
know
we
on the
have a
six-
meeting, a
You
budget
have a budget
meeting
meeting
that night?
That night, yeah.
We don't want to miss your party.
Well, I will be home. I
Yeah,
thought it was going to be
you
out of
do-
town, but I'm going to be home that day.
For that budget, that's why, yes.
What time is it on the 6th? Do we know? You got to make sure we're all there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll get back to you as soon as we know and get going. It's
Okay.
probably, not sure, but we'll get back to you as soon as we know.
Commissioner Kick.
Thank you. First, I want to congratulate Chief Butcher on your retirement. You have put in so many years with the city, and your knowledge, your expertise, your leadership is unbelievable. You give such respect in our community, and I want to thank you for everything you've done. And make sure you travel a little bit and enjoy yourself. I know he was working, and travel a little bit, enjoy yourself, take the motorcycle out, let the wind blow through your hair a little bit.
Your mother is
But-
talking to you.
But thank you for all your years of service, and don't be a stranger, which I'm sure you won't be. And Scott Young, I don't know as well as I probably should, so we're going to get to know each other a little bit better over the next year, I think. But looking at your qualifications and you're over, and you've met the qualifications that are needed for this position, and I think you're going to do a great job. And I want to thank you for. I'm assuming you accepted the position, so thank you for accepting. And but you have some big shoes to fill. So, and you're following a great leader. So, but I know you're going to do a great job, and congratulations.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? Archie Butcher, you want to say something? Don't be too emotional now.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'll be a mess that day. Mark, you won't even have to do any of your signals. I just want to say, it's been an honor and a pleasure, and even working with this guy has been fun. But it was my honor to work for you guys, and I just can't thank you guys enough for all that. And also, it's taken 7 promotions to fill my spots, so that worked. But once again, just thank you so much for 39 years that have been just phenomenal for me.
Thank you. I guess I can call you Fire Chief Young now.
Well, not the September,
Till
not the September.
After the 6th,
Yeah.
right?
We need a motion.
Any other comments? Here none? Chair? Yes, Reverend Smith?
Milton Smith of the Mayor and Commissioners. I wasn't going to say anything, but I just feel I had to. First, I want to talk about Chief Butcher a little bit. Talked about what great job he's done here with the fire department. Certainly, he has. That's to be commended. Brought the fire department a long ways. But the thing that really impressed me, the Chief Butcher not only works in Tarpon Springs, but he's recognized throughout the state of Florida. He's a person, no matter where you go amongst the fire service, call his name, they know him, and they know him as a leader. So he has really set a standard in the fire service that others follow throughout the state. So I just want to say that, and I know he's kind of modest on that, but whether you go to Jacksonville, Miami, Tallahassee, they know that name. So I just wanted to say that about Chief Butcher. Chief Young, He and I go back a long ways as well, and him working on the Chief Butch and all other chiefs that came before him, he's gonna be a good fire chief for Tarpon Springs.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hear none. I need a motion to ratify the appointment.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Kikta?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes, thank you. We are now going to addendum item number 1.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Could I just say something about the item before this one? I think Chief Cochin must be watching from somewhere, because
Which item is that?
about the number 17.
Item number 17? We haven't got there.
Don't have a 7.
No, I mean, not on projects.
Oh, you're talking about the projects.
I know I shouldn't teach him how to, when he's in Miami, to watch things like I did in Fort Lauderdale. I know I shouldn't have taught him that.
He texted me.
Why don't you wait when we go to the next item?
Okay.
Bob Robinson is
It was
gonna
just
be
a
doing that, so we
clarification on
cover that,
something. Okay, all right.
Thank you. So let's go to the addendum, item number 1. Interagency agreement between the City of Tarpon Springs and Pinellas County School Board for the swimming pool project. Which item is again 17?
Well, no, it was
Project 7.
Project 17?
Project 17.
Bob Robertson, Project Administration Department Director. Do you want to hit on that question before we do this?
Yeah,
or
do it
should
real
we-
fast.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
it was
there-
just a comment that he made that there is a no-wake zone from November 15th through March 31st. So now I can tell people who ask me about it, making it a no-wake zone all the time, that we do have a no-wake zone because of the manatees
Manatee season, yeah.
at those times of the year.
Okay.
So he was watching.
You got your answer, huh?
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
We all wave through.
Mr. Robinson, you got the floor.
I'm resisting making a joke there, Mike. Okay, so take 2. This item before you is an amendment to the interagency agreement between the City of Tarpon Springs and Pinellas County School Board for the swimming pool project. This is capturing, as I mentioned in my update on the projects, capturing some items that were not included in the original agreement. Those items are establishing that design and permitting costs are to be paid by the city. That was not included in the original agreement. This establishes that contract documents are to be owned by the city. That's something I kind of picked up on as I reviewed it, that we're paying for it and we should probably have it in writing that we will own those contract documents. Should it come to a point where we can't move forward with the construction for whatever reason, we have the design on the shelf and can take it. It's a portable design, so that was an important thing for me to get in there. It also establishes that certain site development, stormwater pond relocation is to be completed by city staff, and so that's something we wanted to put in that agreement, and establishes an amended payment schedule to reflect the current schedule projection. The old agreement had a payment schedule that was a little bit too quick and didn't reflect where we are in terms of construction schedule now. So again, housekeeping items, but if there are any questions on that, I'd be glad to address them.
Well, I have a question to ask you. The cost for the construction is $1.5 million, right?
Yes, sir.
And $200,000 for the design, survey, soil testing, and printing.
Correct.
Do we know what's going to cost the city to relocate the existing retention pond and stormwater piping?
That will be done
That should be
in-house.
included into what our contribution is, right? Because that, even though that we're going to do the work in-house, it's an expense to it.
I think probably the right place to capture that is in the assignment of a project number where we put all of our costs so that all of our internal costs are captured. I think the purpose of this agreement was to set the terms for payment from the city to the school board. And since there's not any transfer of funds that's being accomplished or occurring for that particular piece of work, we're just capturing that the work is being done, but there wasn't a value assigned to it. I don't know if we could maybe amend that, but I'd rather not hold.
I don't think that should be part of the agreement, but
Okay,
I think it should be acknowledged that
Agreed.
our expense is not only the construction and the $1.5 million and $200,000 for the design and the survey, but also we have expenses to relocate the retention pond and the stormwater piping. So that has to be acknowledged that the city of Tarpon Springs is going to pay an additional money to have that done.
I understand. Is there some vehicle that you want me to communicate that to the school board?
Well, I want them to know that we actually go above and beyond to do this project. So they need to be more cooperative.
Understood.
And they knew that when we were in the discussions of keep it at the 1.5 million, that was when we spoke about that, that we could do the in-house work. I forget what they said it may cost to do that, but we got the crews, we got the tractors, so I don't think the cost I think the cost is minimal, but we'll bring that back to you. But that was discussed with them and told them that we would do that to keep the cost. So we will capture that with them, and they do realize, because that's what we had talked about in the delay of getting the price to 1.5 like we committed. So
yeah,
there's
and
no
I
more
do have a
commitment.
feeling that it's my feeling that the school board and the folks that I'm working with now are committed to getting this project done. You know, if there was some delays before, I think those are in the past. An example is we were talking about trying to cut some of the costs down, and they offered some in-kind. They can't offer funding, but what they can offer is lockers, for example. We have 40-some lockers proposed in the design at a cost of about $25,000. But the school has access to lockers that can be reconditioned and repainted and donated to this project that would save construction costs. So there's examples like that where I'm seeing the school board is committing better than maybe they were before. I feel good about it.
And again, a lot of it has to do with we've got a point person, a project manager that's on the thing, and in these negotiations that we were trying to get the price down. With Bob taking over and doing that, that's why we have a change. So
Thank you.
he's got it on the right track.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sieber, you got a comment?
Yeah, I want to thank you for realizing that we needed these items in the agreement, because as we spoke earlier today, they're pretty important. So thank you for
Thanks.
for doing this.
Okay, Vice Mayor Penn.
Yes, thank you. I echo what Mark said, that I'm very glad that you, Bob, are in charge of this, because it's things like us having possession of the design plans should the school not perform. That I think is very important in watching out for the locker expense. It sounds funny, but $25,000 is $25,000.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I'm in support of this, but just for the record, if there was any more delays or more things like this to come back, I would be very skeptical to approve it. So I'm very hoping that they're ready to perform on their side of the obligations, as we are paying to build the pool on somebody else's property.
I understand, and I'll make sure that's communicated.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? Hear none. I need a motion
Motion to approve?
Second.
and roll call.
Commissioner Carr,
Yes.
Commissioner Kikta,
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther.
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas.
Yes. Thank you. We're now going to the item number 15, to authorize special meeting of the Board of Adjustments. Vice Mayor Panther requested that to be on the agenda.
You want
I'll do it.
tag team and we'll do it, or?
Well, go ahead. Say your I'll talk.
Commissioner Banther came in and we had a conversation. Obviously, you know, we were all at the meeting between us and the Board of Adjustments. He had talked with some of those individuals. He talked with me, and we came to the kind of conclusion that the way we could finally resolve this situation with fairness to all was to allow a one-time meeting. And the emphasis on that is because, as you've known from the attorney's opinion and stuff, that this is not a purview of this board to bring recommendations like that. But again, to seek the input, we had talked about allowing them to have one meeting to discuss all the concerns, changes they request. When they submit that, staff will write an opinion on each and every point to give staff side of whether we support or we don't support and why. Those documents would go to you to review. After you review them, if there is any of those items that you think should be agenda to discuss, you would agenda them. If there are none to do, then the issue would be over and we'd proceed with the processes and the meetings as we go. I think this is a fair way to give this board a chance to input. Again, you would have to approve this special meeting because it's not within this peer review, but I think this is a way to get all their suggestions and input out there, to hear staff's side of whether they support or not, and then you as a commission make a final decision if you want to look at everything. So I support with Commissioner Banther going forward and approving to do this.
Any commission comments? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And this comes, from the meeting that we had jointly. I had lunch separately with Mr. Elliott and Mr. Eisner, and hearing more of what they had to say. I think this is a good compromise and a good thing we should do for people that are volunteering their time for the city. If they're this passionate that they have changes they think need to be made, I think we should give them this one-time opportunity to do it. And I'm glad we're doing it in a way that we're not having to change the makeup of their board as far as how they're, how we, have their board. I would stress, though, as I did in the meeting, that until we make any changes, whether based off your recommendations or things that we find that you do abide by all rules that you have in place, and that even when those rules aren't pleasant, that they are there for a reason. But that being said, I do look forward to your recommendations on how we can improve the variance approvable process. So we'll see what they have to say.
Well, thank you. I also looking forward to see the recommendations will come from the board. And again, I want to thank all the members working on serving on the Board of Adjustment. But during the last meeting, we asked to provide training to the board members. Have we done that?
We're working on that. We're working on the situation of training for all boards. Yes.
Okay, to make sure that that's been taken care of. Yes, I'm looking forward to the input of the board. Any questions, comments?
I just have. Can someone clarify this a little bit more for me? Is Vice Mayor not able to just meet with them without having a special meeting approved by the board? Is that something that can't happen, or?
It can absolutely happen.
Okay.
Each one of you can meet with your committee or board members. It's not a violation of any state statute or your code.
So is this, I'm assuming this is a formality just to inform everybody what's going on right now?
I think the biggest point is that they can't get together to discuss things among themselves. Whatever the ideas of what their changes are, they can talk individually, but they can't talk among themselves unless they're at a meeting to decide what they go forward. Maybe some of the ideas that's been brought up previously, maybe the whole board doesn't agree to go along with them. They have no mechanism to talk to themselves as a board, bringing forward board suggestions to it. They could individually, but they have no ability to discuss among themselves, and there's nowhere in their makeup where they have that ability to do that. So this would allow them to discuss as a whole, all board members and all their opinions of what needs to be, and then what they want to bring forward for you as a commission to look at and change.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Any other questions?
Thank you. So will they meet, they're like the same setting as they would as a regular meeting, and then the attorney would be there? Is that correct? Or who would be there? City staff?
Probably, yeah. Probably just staff, because,
Okay.
again, this is their discussion among themselves of what they want to bring forward to us.
So there's no discussion on items or issues or anything. It's just changes to their rules and procedure.
The processes of
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there's a lot of knowledge up on that board. There's some people that have been around the city a long time. So, it doesn't hurt to hear what they have to say, Like I said, they've been around a long time, Mr. Elliott.
So that's why, again, together we think this will be the best way to not leave it like it was, and together.
Right.
Mr. Banther talked to me, and he convinced me that this was the best way to go. So that's why I'm supporting this process.
So can one of us or any of us sit in on that meeting when they have it?
Public meeting.
It's a public
It's a
meeting.
public meeting, but it probably best not to, I think. Because you're gonna be reading their request.
It's absolutely appropriate for you to be able to
Yeah.
attend.
Yeah.
Just don't discuss amongst yourselves any issue that may eventually come before this commission for consideration. So you can sit in the audience and watch,
Okay.
and it wouldn't be a violation.
So can you let us know when that meeting is?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are now going to the public comments of this item.
You gotta, oh, sorry.
What, you have
No,
something?
you're right. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Public comment? Any public comment? No? I need a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Kikta?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes. Thank you. That concludes the agenda tonight, and we go to the staff comments.
Do we, can,
You got,
I just want to ask Tom, I know he announced at the beginning of the meeting, do we have to announce anything else on item 13 about the deferral? Was the mayor's announcing at the beginning of this meeting sufficient to the date certain?
I think it's sufficient. I mean, some cities, some councils, what they would do is there would be a motion to postpone to a date
Yeah.
certain. But the purposes of acknowledging the fact that it's going to be heard on July 25th instead of tonight, that gives the public the knowledge that it is actually going to happen, so you don't have to re-advertise it. I think that's sufficient.
Okay.
so we're okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Active Police, Chief Drill.
Doesn't it have a sound? Doesn't it have a sound to
I
it?
was just waiting for the city manager to start laughing louder than me. I have no comments.
Come on.
No, it's a pleasure being here with you, ladies and gentlemen. And it's a pleasure getting out at 8:15 as opposed to midnight, my last two.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
City Attorney?
I have nothing for you tonight. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, Jay's on vacation. That's why he's not here. He was traveling to Boston, his hometown, and then also to Maine with his family. So that's why he's not here tonight, and I'm covering for him.
And of course, you don't mind to be here to your hometown.
It is my hometown,
Yes, it is.
so I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mr. LeCoeur? Have anything?
I thought I did, but it left my mind right now.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Madam City Clerk?
I just wanted to remind our residents that starting on August 9th through October 4th, our 4th Citizens Academy will be starting. We still have 4 positions open. It's lots of fun, so I encourage all to sign up, and they can do that by going to our website or calling the clerk's office. And we do have 3 past members that have been on our academy and tonight in the audience that serve on boards.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Panther?
Just that on the theme of fire, this past Thursday or Thursday before last, I got to go on a ride along at 69 for a day shift type thing. I didn't stay all 24 hours, and I'm not that brave. And I guess like we had no calls when I was there, but right when I left, they had calls like all night. So, but it's a very fun process. I know a lot of us have done ride-alongs with the police department. So I encourage, if you haven't, do a ride-along with the fire department. It's really neat to see how they do things, and it kind of helps put in perspective when we hear things about budget time or processes. When you get to actually see how they do their stuff, it actually kind of helps make sense. But I really do think our first call was planted, because it was rescuing a kitten that Gaston was trying to poke out of an engine. I mean, I'm like, I said, really? A kitten? Our first call? But it was cute. I don't do cats, so I didn't touch it. But the cat was successfully rescued and was adopted by the end of the day. So, but it was just very, how much more do you get of rescuing a kitty cat at 7 in the morning? But Gaston poking it with it, not poking the cat, I should be specific. He was trying to get out the engine bay over at 7-Eleven. So, but anyway, it was good times. I encourage all my colleagues, if you haven't, I think Commissioner Sieber might have done one day. Did you do a ride along with the fire department?
No,
before?
just the boat and fire
Both?
ups.
Well, I encourage the boat and the truck, but just do it. It's just a fun time.
I definitely want to, yeah.
It's a fun time.
I don't have any comments.
No comment. Commissioner Sieber?
Going along with that comment, in fire ops, I learned that a skeleton of a cat has never been rescued. So, so eventually I guess they get down, so. But no other comments.
Commissioner
Thank you for
Carr?
your service.
Just like to reiterate what Commissioner Seaberg brought up earlier about the negotiations going on with the motel on the bayou. I believe that was brought up a few meetings ago. If you could update me, Mark, on something later this week or the next meeting.
Yeah, I can update y'all. I got something from the attorney. They are still in the process of the attorney for the motel's evaluation of our appraisal. And that reminded me, that's one of the pieces of bad news I need to bring. Last Friday, the person we hired to do our appraisals on the property had a massive heart attack and died. Oh, no. So, and also the attorney for the hotel owner has been in the hospital. So our attorney did let me know today that the process, they're reviewing the appraisal, they're reviewing the processes, and he has been in touch with them, and they should be continuing negotiations after their review of the appraisal. Again, that's why we hired, unfortunately, the gentleman who passed away, because he was considered the best in the area. So we don't look at any problems or dispute. And the attorney from the hotel is an experienced eminent domain attorney, and so he knows a good appraisal. So we don't look at any problems from the appraisal and negotiations. So he anticipates a meeting upcoming now that the attorney's out of the hospital.
So that appraisal can be used.
Yes. Oh, yeah. The appraisal is fine and can be used.
Well, the appraiser office, does it have anybody, any other associate in case we have any questions?
We'd have to, again, I just found out this news today, so I need to find out a little more information.
There's a chief appraiser in the office.
Yeah.
They sign off on all that, so.
Yeah. Well, I have several announcements to make. On July 15, we have the Night in the Islands at the Sponge Docks that starts from 6 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. July 22nd, we have the Wine Walk that begins at 4 p.m. till 8 p.m. Don't forget.
Oh, don't worry. I always know about them.
Also, I'd like to thank our employees and all the volunteers that worked to make the 4th of July picnic a great success. It was nice. Everybody had a great time. I think we had more attendance than we ever did before. And also like to thank the Waste Management for sponsoring this event.
Well, there was no doubt it was our best crowd.
It was crowded. It was nice. Everybody had a lot of fun.
10 to 11 especially was probably double or triple we've ever had.
Yeah. But the little train, I think it was the most popular event that we had.
Did you drive the train, man?
No, they didn't let me. They didn't let me do that.
We wouldn't let them.
No, it was.
I heard the hot dog eating contest, I think he ate 9 in 10 minutes.
Yeah, 9.
I think I could have beat that.
You can beat that?
Next year.
All right.
We'll draw more of a crowd.
I was wondering.
You promise next year we got that on record.
I wanted to do it this year, and then I said, oh, I got
We can do a rib eating contest. I'll beat all y'all, but I'm not doing hot dogs. That's nasty.
Oh, I could do that in a heartbeat.
Also receiving invitations from our sister cities, Kalki and Kalymnos, to visit this summer. I accepted the invitations, and I will be visiting to attend a convention in Kalymnos the next few weeks. And the visit to Greece will be my own expense. Also, I have requested our city manager, Mr. Licouras, to coordinate a meeting with our county commissioners and us, the BOC, to discuss concerns and issues that we have. As we all know, many streets in Tarpon Springs are under the jurisdiction of Pinellas County, so we need to work with them. I will discuss that with Chairwoman Jenna Long and the other commissioners, and they favored to have this joint meeting, and I'm looking forward to make that happen. I'm sure Mr. Licouras will do that sometime.
I've already talked with the county administrator, but it's probably going to be after October.
October, yeah.
Because with the schedules and the budgets of theirs and ours, but so the county administrator knows that it'll probably be sometime after October.
Well, that's all I have. That concludes the regular session tonight, and it's adjourned at 8:22 p.m.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Good night. Thank you. Was something that I wanted to do. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much.
Tom, is this the only thing I need to sign for that lien or lease? I see all this